When I was 8 years old, my father bought me
Super Mario Sunshine! Woohoo!
for the GameCube, and it quickly became one of my favorite games of all time. One of my favorite things to do was just to explore the many worlds in the game, from Bianco Hills to Rico Harbor, and so on. I always wanted to keep exploring new worlds, and I was happy to see different places. I enjoyed the game so much that when I was reaching the end of it, before my big battle with Bowser, I stopped. I was disappointed that those levels, the ones that I loved exploring, were all the game had to offer. I wanted more. So I went to my save file and deleted all of my progress. I didn't want the game to end. So after I deleted it, I started the game over again, exploring those same worlds as if they were new. This trend would continue with a lot of my favorite games. Kingdom Hearts was a game that I fell in love with playing and exploring its multiple worlds. I even remember, as much as it kills me to remember it, when I completed Kingdom Hearts on the PlayStation 2, getting 100% completion in the game, being level 99, juggling the stupid mushroom 100 times for the Ultima weapon, I deleted my save file. Now, Kingdom Hearts had a grand total of 99 save files that you could choose from, but I had to go and delete my perfect save file with everything completed. Why? Because I didn't want it to be over. I wanted more. And so I started the game over, beginning my journey on Destiny Islands once again. This trend continued on until I started playing open world games, and that was one of the biggest revolutions in the gaming industry. It felt like Destiny, as now you can go into a video game and explore a virtually limitless world. It was something everyone, including myself, had been dreaming of. Now, when someone plays an open world game, they get more than what they got before. I remember playing the first Assassin's Creed and being blown away that I could travel almost anywhere, walk amongst the locals, and enjoy the setting. I never felt that the game had a lack of anything. In fact, it had so much that after completing the game's story, I could always come back and collect all 400 collectible flags. In my mind, the game was never truly over because those flags had not been collected. I could still go in and continue right where I left off, but I never dared to delete my save file again. I always had more waiting for me. And as more open world games were released, I found myself in awe of just how much content was out there, how many games I could play, and ultimately, how much time I could dedicate to these games. But as I've grown older, and time has become a limited resource, I soon became tired of the open world formula. Despite having more things to do, more lands to see, and more adventures to be had, I found that I had less time for it, and having less time meant I had to be pickier about the games I could play and finish. To this day, games with over 100 hours of playtime scare me, and some feel like a chore to play. Some even became boring. But as time continued to move on and the sheer quantity of open world games became unbelievable, I physically could not bring myself to finish all these games. I have so many games that I've started but never seemed to be able to finish because something always got in the way, or I just moved on too quickly. But that was okay, because I knew I could always come back to the multitude of open world games that I had started. I always had more waiting for me. But the thing is, I never had enough time. I never went back. I never collected all 400 flags. Was having more even worth it? Or was there a point where more became too much? So in 2017, when The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild released, I was scared to start it. 4 divine beasts, 120 shrines, 226 locations, 900 Korok seeds, and that's just a fraction of what the game had to offer? It sounded like way too much for a game, and too much time to spend on any video game. Even all of my life responsibilities were telling me not to play it. But I had to play it. As a longtime Zelda fan, it was my destiny. And when I started playing the game, I fell in love with it. It felt like a breath of fresh air from the open world games that I'd been playing previously, and the main reason for that was how they treated the open world formula, and the variation of how an open world game was played. It really allowed players to do some of the most creative and coolest things I've ever seen in an open world game, and the amount of hidden details in the game keeps surprising me every time I find out about them. It's been over 6 years since the initial release, and I'm still learning about things from YouTubers still making videos on it. And my favorite part about the game was being able to explore all the cool new locations in this version of Hyrule. Each time I visited a new location, I was excited to speak to all the different characters, and to move on to continue my exploration of the lands of Hyrule, the lands that I must save as Link by defeating Calamity Ganon. But as I kept playing, I grew impatient. I couldn't wait for my destiny any longer. I fought Calamity Ganon, and I saved Hyrule. I was the hero. And after finishing the main story in Breath of the Wild, I looked at my percentage of the game completed. 37%? You mean I have 63% more of the game waiting for me? That sounded amazing. I was so excited to go back and finish all the side quests and shrines that I had left unfinished, because there was always more waiting for me in Hyrule. But as I booted up the game again to continue my journey, I was weirdly disappointed. With the final boss defeated, I couldn't help but linger on the emptiness and pointlessness of Hyrule. I was genuinely disappointed with finishing the story, because all the things left for me to do, all the side quests and shrines, felt pointless. And I for sure was not going to collect all 900 Korok seeds. I didn't want Link's story to end. I wanted my destiny as the savior of Hyrule to continue, and to continue exploring the unexplored. Because I wanted more. Especially more places to explore. Because that's why I love gaming. To continue exploring amazing worlds. So when Tears of the Kingdom was announced, I was ready for more. But after 6 long years of waiting, more wasn't what I expected. I'll be honest with you all, when Tears of the Kingdom was announced, I wasn't that excited for the game. Since Tears of the Kingdom was going to be using the same map as Breath of the Wild, I saw this phrase a lot online. It's just Breath of the Wild DLC. This is sadly the same negativity that I harbored. I was disappointed that it was going to be the same old map, because for me, I love exploring brand new amazing worlds. So the fact that we got the same world, with just a few sky islands sprinkled around, made me unenthusiastic for the game. It felt like after 6 years, we were destined for more. Because I felt that we deserved more. But slowly, as more information came out about the game, seeing the new abilities and seeing the incredible creations that you can make within the game, just made everyone more excited. And when they released this banger of a song, I couldn't help but feel the hype for the game, because everyone was feeling it. The game was even leaked 2 whole weeks earlier than the release date because of a hyped fan getting their hands on it early. It was crazy to imagine that something people worked so hard on, something that people treasured, would be easily taken by those who felt that it was their destiny to have it. So when I finally got my hands on Tears of the Kingdom, I was so excited to begin playing, despite my disappointment of the reuse of the same map. Beginning the game, it felt exciting to see Link and Zelda unknowingly stumble upon this ancient evil and cause what is known as the upheaval as giant islands floated into the sky. Seeing Zelda disappear and getting help from the mysterious Rauru on floating Tutorial Island felt like it was the perfect beginning to an amazing adventure. The Sky Islands were amazing, and working with these ancient Zonai devices felt so cool, despite my IQ not being high enough to understand how some of them worked. Once I finally finished Tutorial Island, which felt like an eternity, I descended onto the mainland of Hyrule, excited for more, but hesitant to experience these familiar places again. Because for me, video games have always been a chance to explore new worlds, have fun adventures, and a chance to escape the monotony of daily life. So the idea that I would be revisiting the same exact locations bummed me out. I kept worrying about the idea that I would spend so many hours on the same old content that I had experienced before, rather than spending my time on something new. And once I landed on the mainland, a somber feeling rushed over me. There was a quiet desolation I felt, just like in Breath of the Wild. Except this time, this empty wasteland was familiar to me. As I headed to this new camp named Lookout Landing, I was greeted with the sight of some old, and somehow young, friends. I felt a rush of emotion seeing them once again. Because when I play video games nowadays, I rarely have time to go back. I'm always looking forward, leaving behind these adventures in my memory, and continuing on with more games. I'm always moving on to the next thing. I'm always moving on to more. But being surrounded by those that I thought I would never see again created a strange feeling that I had not experienced, and that feeling stayed with me when I continued playing. A somber and somewhat heartwarming feeling of nostalgia. But this nostalgia was for new experiences. Leaving Lookout Landing, I was excited to finally begin my journey, my destiny, to find Zelda and defeat evil once again. But this feeling of nostalgia rushed over me once I saw the locations I had visited 6 years prior in Breath of the Wild. Visiting areas such as Hateno Village, that's now being overtaken by a fungi fashion sense, Lurelin Village that now needed restoration after being destroyed, Kakariko Village, now under the reign of Paya and home to a Zonai survey team base under the Ring Ruins, and Terrytown, that is now a booming construction industry and home to Hudson and Ronson, who have a new daughter named Madison. All of these places felt like a blast from the past, but something felt off about them. When talking to NPCs, a lot of them that were featured in Breath of the Wild, the vast majority didn't seem to recognize or even care about Link. Despite me having moments where I remembered and felt nostalgic about these NPCs, they treated me like a stranger. But that didn't make sense. I saved all of them from Calamity Ganon. Shouldn't Link have gotten some sort of recognition? Doesn't Link deserve more than that? How could they be so indifferent or ignorant about the moments in Breath of the Wild? Sure, they were kind enough to share tips or their stories, but they didn't share their thoughts about Link. I mean, he was the hero destined to save Hyrule, again and again in who knows how many reincarnations. Doesn't destiny mean anything to them? I was even violated by an eldritch horror in the form of a couple of glowing red hands, so the least they could do is remember me. Even Lurelin Village started offering all their services for the hero of Hyrule for free, after I fixed their town. Where's the appreciation and love from the other regions? I tried to shrug off these feelings and continue with the story of Tears of the Kingdom, but this feeling stayed with me, a feeling that I wanted more from them. As I continued my journey and destiny to find the missing princess, the story of Tears of the Kingdom slowly began to unravel. I first traveled to the northwest region of the map known as Hebra, where I was joined by Tulin, who had a massive glow-up from Breath of the Wild. Together, we saved Rito Village from the blizzard that ravaged the area. From there, I visited the eastern side of the map, known as Lanayru, where I was joined by the newly engaged Sidon. Together, we saved Zora's domain from the pollution that contaminated the water. Then I headed to the southwest region of the map known as Gerudo, where I was joined by the Lady Riju, chief of the Gerudo, and together we saved Gerudo town from the disastrous sandstorm that clouded the desert. As the fourth destination, I headed to the northeast region of the map known as Eldin, where I was met by a mind-controlled Yunobo, and together we saved Goron City from a drug epidemic? Yeah, those rocks were something else. Throughout my experiences with these 4 locations and interacting with the main characters, I began to feel better about Link's situation, about Link's anonymity with the Great Land of Hyrule. It felt different interacting with Tulin, Sidon, Riju, and Yunobo. It was nice to be part of something greater. It was nice to be recognized. And it was nice to be part of a team, especially as they joined me in their spirit forms. Though sometimes they could get on my nerves as I chased them down for their powers. Their kindness and assistance helped Link along his journey to defeat evil. And saving each region from their regional phenomena, I felt like I was fulfilling my destiny, and I was getting recognized for it. And finally, I went on to find the 5th sage, Minoru, whose body needed to be constructed in the depths. Wait, have I even mentioned the depths yet? Because I want you to know just how excited I was when I reached the depths for the first time. I was avoiding these giant holes in the ground for a long time. I thought there was nothing in them. Nothing except death. Or rather a cut to black with Link yelling out. So when I actually decided to test jumping into the dark abyss, I was hit with the surprise of being in a Looney Tunes cartoon. I kept falling into this pitch black nothingness. But eventually, there was a bottom. And all of a sudden, I was given so much more. My excitement knew no bounds, and I was seemingly given a whole new map to explore. And that was my favorite thing to do. I even abandoned all of my responsibilities in the game, just to explore the depths. It was even nice to be recognized and to battle my mortal enemy, Master Koga of the Yiga clan. Seeing the Yiga members still have so much hatred for Link actually felt heartwarming, because I was not forgotten, and I had an impact on their lives. So when I began continuing the main story, and I constructed Minoru, finishing the 5th and final sage journey, I got worried about ending my journey. Because all that there was left to do was to collect the Master Sword, find Zelda, and defeat Ganondorf. And I didn't want my story, my destiny, to end. Not again. It's been 6 years since Breath of the Wild. I don't know how many more years until the next one. I want more. I don't want to wait. So I reluctantly continued my destiny, collecting all the dragon tears and replaying the memories of years past. And those memories revealed the heartbreaking truth of what happened to Zelda. She sacrificed herself to provide Link the Master Sword thousands of years later, as she was imprisoned in the form of the Light Dragon. It was at this moment that I realized The Legend of Zelda was never about destiny. It was never just about the battle between good and evil, the battle between Link and Ganondorf. It wasn't even about the Triforce, which indicated power, courage, and wisdom. It was about the land. It was about the people. It was about Hyrule, the 4th triangle in the Triforce that encompasses each of them. As Zelda travels back in time to meet the first king and queen of Hyrule, we see the land of Hyrule in its early years. The land that is protected by the king and queen, both equipped with their secret stones. These stones hold immense power, allowing the king to fend off an incoming monster attack. Despite the evil vanquished, a larger evil lurked in the shadows. Pretending to swear fealty to King Rauru, Ganondorf earns their trust and kills Queen Sonia. After killing her, he grabs a hold of her secret stone, thus creating this almighty Demon King. And with this incredible power, he wanted to rule with his army of monsters. He felt that it was his destiny to rule all of Hyrule. He felt that he deserved more. And that desire for more isn't a brand new concept. This concept has always been human nature, for better or for worse. It's been a common theme throughout history and has been the center of many wars and invasions. And what they all commonly want is to rule more land, similar to the motivations of Ganondorf in Tears of the Kingdom. So when we look at human history, we can see that this exploration, expansion, and subsequent colonization of new lands were fueled by this idea that getting more is in our destiny. During the 15th to 17th century, following the invention of sailing, a new age had begun. This age would be known as the Age of Exploration, or also known as the Age of Discovery. And during this time of discovery, international law was spearheaded by what is known as the Doctrine of Discovery. This doctrine defined how European countries could govern over their new lands. For example, the doctrine stated that the first European country to discover lands unknown to other Europeans automatically acquired sovereign rights over the land and its inhabitants. That means no matter who lived on the lands previously, as long as a European country discovered it first, they ruled the lands and could remove any natives in whatever way they saw fit. These violent colonization tactics were further justified by the religion of Christianity, indicating that non-Christians were not deemed to have the rights to land, sovereignty, and self-determination as Christians did. They had justified that it was their destiny for these European countries to violently take these lands from the natives. As the colonizations of the Americas continued and the United States of America gained independence from any European country, they still continued to strive for more. As America looked westward for more land and territory, they justified their violent colonization with yet another idea. This time, it was known as manifest destiny, which was a cultural belief in the 19th century United States that American settlers were destined to expand across North America. It was their God-given right to have more, to expand into lands from coast to coast, and to take it by any means necessary. This idea of manifest destiny was used to justify the Indian Removal Act, which forced more than 60,000 people from at least 18 tribes to move west of the Mississippi River, where they were allocated new lands as part of an ethnic cleansing. While some fought back, the majority of the natives were forced to relocate and they suffered from exposure, disease, and starvation while en route to their newly designated Indian Reserve. Thousands died from disease before reaching their destinations, or shortly after. This forced relocation is known as the Trail of Tears, and the repercussions of this idea of manifest destiny is still seen within Native American populations today. Despite it all, those following the ideas of manifest destiny felt that they deserved more. It somehow was God who willed them to have more. And at the end of the day, they felt that it was their destiny to have more, despite other native populations having less. And this strange idea that people think that they have a destiny of having more is a tale as old as time. And that tale as old as time could have always used a hero of time. A hero such as Link. Because throughout Tears of the Kingdom, a story about the natives of Hyrule has been told. Ganondorf, the embodiment of evil and chaos as a Demon King, can be seen as a metaphorical representation of the destructive forces unleashed by manifest destiny. Just as the ideas of manifest destiny brought suffering and devastation to Native American tribes, Ganondorf's pursuit for more power and control inflicted a similar fate upon the native peoples of Hyrule. His actions mirror the expansionist mindset of Manifest Destiny, driven by greed and a desire to dominate the land and its resources. Because just like the Native American populations, the various tribes that existed who lost their land to the threat of Manifest Destiny, Hyrule faced the evil threat of Ganondorf, who believed it was his destiny to have more. He wants to conquer and subjugate all the diverse races and tribes of Hyrule, which include the Hylians, the Zora, the Rito, the Gerudo, the Gorons, the Sheikah, and so on. He wants to eradicate their unique identities and traditions and just make it a world covered in darkness. A world in which everyone are just monsters. And while everyone becomes monsters, sacred places such as the Great Deku Tree, temples, shrines, and even Hyrule Castle will be destroyed. The intrusion of Ganondorf and his forces onto these sacred places echoes the historical colonization and desecration of Native American lands. And Ganondorf, just like in those past colonizations, justify his actions by this idea of destiny, that they deserve to have more, and that they are destined for more. And as I was continuing on my journey to defeat Ganondorf for the next and definitely not the last time, I realized that this destiny that I was thinking of, this destiny I thought Link was a part of, was not what I expected. In reality, destiny is something that cannot be used to justify these evil actions, because destiny doesn't exist. Playing Tears of the Kingdom, I felt that I wasn't being recognized enough. I wasn't being rewarded enough for the amount of hours I was putting into the game. But in this sense of entitlement that I was having, I realized that the game was never going to reward me in the way that I expected. Because my expectations of this idea of destiny could never be reached. I was too focused on myself, the idea that I was spending hours to save Hyrule, and the idea that I deserved more. But this story was never just about me. It was about Hyrule, and the friends and memories I've made along the way. The idea of entitlement is an illusion. The story of Tears of the Kingdom highlights that we are not inherently deserving of certain outcomes or possessions. There is no destiny that gives us anything. Instead, it is the kindness and generosity of others that allows us to succeed, to grow, and to ultimately have more. I realized that destiny wasn't the force that was going to have me succeed in this story. It was the help I received from those close to Link along the way. Whether that's through the battles, or clues on where to travel next. As I fought Ganondorf in the final battle, he was unable to defeat Link in his regular form, and he swallows his secret stone, turning himself into a dragon. He stopped at nothing to get what he wanted. In the final, gorgeous, and possibly my most favorite ending battle to a Zelda game, Link receives help from Zelda in her dragon form. Together, they are able to defeat Ganondorf and save Hyrule once again, leaving me with a 47% completion rate. 47% of the 5 temples, the 58 wells, the 120 light roots, the 152 shrines, the 153 caves, the 1,000 Korok seeds, and more. And that remaining 53% of the game will always be here for me. With the final boss defeated, I couldn't help but think about how I felt with the emptiness and pointlessness of Hyrule once I finished Breath of the Wild. But this time, it was different. It wasn't empty, but filled with the memories of the crazy adventures and characters that I was able to interact with. I was grateful that I got to experience these locations once again, to call these places a home during my adventures. Because now, I was able to appreciate what I have, and what I have had in the past. We always want more, but when we get so blinded by the state of wishing and wanting for more, we never take time to appreciate what we have now. You never take time to appreciate living in the moment and playing a game that we waited 6 years for, because we are always focused on what we are destined for next. And as I close this chapter in my life, while the game also comes to a close, it has shown that destiny is not a guarantee of success or a guarantee of what we deserve, but rather the result of our interactions, support from others, and the choices we actively make. Because to get me here, at the end of Tears of the Kingdom, saving Zelda once again and bringing her to the land of Hyrule, it wasn't destiny that got me here. It was the impressive skill that Nintendo had to make this game. It was the privilege of being able to afford it through my hard work. And it was the kindness of my father to buy me Super Mario Sunshine and all the other games that set me on this path with games today. We have to continue to be kind. We have to continue to work together to create and protect this world that we want. And we have to honor those who had been hurt from the concept of manifest destiny. We have to recognize the importance of understanding and preserving the cultural heritage of Indigenous peoples. We have to ensure that Native American and other voices, perspectives, and cultural traditions are not overshadowed or forgotten. We are not entitled to anything. It is not our destiny to have more. It is the kindness of others that allows us to have and to share more. And if we try hard enough to show care and compassion, as well as determination, we will have plenty to where we feel that we have enough.